Hi Daily Dragons, this is Miss Coach and I would like to welcome you to the start of our figurative language unit. In this unit, we will be covering 8 literary devices over the next 2 weeks of distance learning. If you haven't already done so, please grab your writer's handbook, a new notebook, or if you don't have any of those, then 10 sheets of lined blank paper stapled together for this figurative language unit. Today, I would like you to take notes on the 8 literary devices, and we will take a mini quiz during our Zoom class meeting, and you may use your notes. Let's jump right in. Figuring it out, figurative language. Now, to start, we need to distinguish between figurative language and literal language. Literal means words that function or work exactly as defined, right? So if I say big, I literally mean big. So here's an example. The boys' room was messy. The left fielder dropped the baseball. I'm being exact with my words. I'm describing the boys' room as messy, and I'm describing the left fielder's action as he dropped the baseball. Now, with figurative language, you have to figure it out because it doesn't mean what the words actually are. Here's an example. The boys' room was a pigsty. Doesn't mean that the boys' room is literally a pigsty where pigs are. Just means the boys' room is messy. The left fielder has butterfingers. Doesn't mean he has those chocolate candies. It means that his fingers are slippery and he dropped the baseball. So these are figures of speech. Whenever you hear someone say, oh, it's a figure of speech, that means they're saying something where they're using the words and they don't mean exactly what the words mean. They mean something different. So let's start with our notes. The first literary device is something you're familiar with, is a simile. A simile is a comparison of two different things using the word like or as. Like or as is very important. They're key parts to what makes a simile. Okay. Here are some examples. Telephone wires hung like a musical score. And I underline like, and the telephone wire is being compared to a musical score. Those faces sour as vinegar. What two items are being compared? You're right, it's the facial expression is being compared to the taste of vinegar, right? Could you imagine tasting something similar and your face puckers up? That's why figurative language is used to describe the facial expression. Now, I have a warning about similes. Just because you see like or as in a sentence doesn't always make it a simile. Right? So remember, for similes, simile means similar. That means two things have to be compared. So a comparison must be made. Here's an example that is not a simile. I washed the dishes as she dried them. There is as there, but there's no comparison. Me washing the dishes is not being compared to anything. Here's an example of a simile. The dishes were as clean as the inside of a full bottle of soap. What are the two items that are being compared? The dishes, right? The clean dishes. What are they compared as? The cleanliness of the dishes is compared to the inside of the soap bottle. Okay. Now, the second literary device is metaphor. Metaphor is a comparison of two different things without using the word like or as. So it's just like a simile, except it doesn't use like or as. Okay? So you must compare two different items. Hugh was a pig at dinner. So Hugh is being compared to what? That's right, Hugh is being compared to a pig. How about in this metaphor? The snow is a white blanket. What is the snow being compared as? It's being compared to a white blanket. How about this one? The calm lake was a mirror. What is being compared to as a mirror? If you said the calm lake, you're right. So there's your metaphor. Let's go to our third literary device, and that is personification. Personification. If you don't know what this word means, could you look at the word and try to segment it and see if there are some clues? Do you see any other words within personification? Did you notice? Person, that's a big clue. So make sure you're taking notes. Personification is giving human traits to objects or ideas. Okay, so you're giving human qualities to things that aren't human. Here are some examples. The stars are hiding now. So what is being given human traits? If you said the star is given the ability to hide. Stars can't hide, right? So you're personifying the stars by saying the stars hide. Here's another example. Or trees that whisper in some far small town. Which object is being personified? That means being given person-like qualities. Is it the town? No. If you said trees, you're correct. The trees are given the ability to whisper. Right? Here's the final example. A tree may wear a nest of robins in her hair. What is being personified in this sentence? What is given human qualities? You're right, if you said tree, so the tree has hair and it has the ability to wear things like the nest of robins. Pretty cool, right? Next is hyperbole. It looks like hyperbole, but we call it hyperbole, right? And I believe you've studied the Greek root hyper, right? And what does it mean? Hyper means too much or over, right? So it's connected to the word. A hyperbole is exaggerating to express a strong feeling. Okay, so you're describing something even more than what it is. Here are some examples. Make sure you take notes. I will love you until the end of time. Right, so this is an exaggeration because, well, it's kind of unlikely that someone will live that long, right? No human being can live until the end of time. Let's look at the next example. My dad would kill me if he knew about this. Well, this is a hyperbole because, dad probably won't actually kill his own child, right? So someone is exaggerating. And here's your third example. My book bag weighs 1,000,000 pounds. So we know that someone's book bag can't literally weigh 1,000,000 pounds because he wouldn't be able to carry it, right? But he's using a hyperbole to make the readers or the listener really understand how he feels about his book bag, right? And that the book bag weighs a lot. So that's a hyperbole. Next on your literary device is understatement. And again, it's always important to look at clues in the word. So here your big clue is under, right? So instead of hyper, then this literary device is more under. And let me elaborate. So it's an expression with less strength than expected. It actually is the opposite of hyperbole. Okay, so instead of exaggerating, you are understating something. Here are some examples. The guillotine will give you a bad hair day. Now, if you guys know, a guillotine is an invention created in France to cut off the heads of convicted criminals, right? So if you get guillotined, the results will be much worse than a bad hair day. Right? So this is an understatement. Okay, it's making something sound very serious. Something that's serious is making it sound like it's not that serious. So it can be funny sometimes as well. Here's another example. Kidnapping your host is considered rude. Right, so this has a comedic effect to it, right? When you kidnap someone, it's a serious crime, right? So it's much worse than being rude. Okay, so that is a clear understatement. Next on our literary device is idiom. Okay, so an idiom, make sure you're taking notes, is a well-known phrase that means something different than the actual words used. Okay, so it really means something different from what the words mean. Here's an example, and make sure you write the example. It says, I couldn't go out as it was raining cats and dogs. Right? I underline the idiom, it was raining cats and dogs. Now, is it literally actually raining cats and dogs? No, what does it mean? What does it mean when someone says it's raining cats and dogs? It means it's really raining hard. Right? They're kind of exaggerating, kind of using hyperbole, right? But they're giving examples where you don't literally mean it's raining cat and dogs. Here's another example. It was a secret until Joe spilled the beans, right? Now Joe, he didn't literally like drop and spill beans on the floor. What does that mean? Right? Use the context from the sentence to help you. It was a secret until Joe spilled the beans. What does that mean that Joe did? Joe, he couldn't keep a secret. Right? So that's fun to hear idioms as well. We're moving on to alliteration. I believe some of you are familiar with alliteration. Alliteration is when the beginning sound of a word is used 2 or 3 times in a phrase or sentence. Here are some examples. Lisa likes lollipops, leopards, and lavenders. Which sound did we use to create alliteration? You're right, we used the L sound. And let's look at the next example. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. What sound do you hear? You're right, S and SH, right? And so using alliteration makes reading fun for the readers, right? So this is another literary device that writers use in their writing to make their writing more entertaining. Okay. We are on our 7th literary device. Ooh, this one is a tough one to say, but you can try to read it with me. Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia. Try it one more time. Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia, the really tricky one to say. I think you'll understand why. So, onomatopoeia is a word that actually looks like the sound it makes. And we can almost hear those sounds as we read it. Okay? So, you'll know what I mean when I give you these examples. Okay? There was a loud bang on the door. Which word do you think is the onomatopoeia? That means it's a word that looks like the sound it makes. If you said bang, you're correct. Bang would be an example of onomatopoeia. Here's another one. The sausages were sizzling in the pan. Where do you see the onomatopoeia? Where the word sounds like the sounds it makes. If you said sizzling, you're correct. Let's try a third one. I hear the snap of a twig. Which word do you think is the onomatopoeia? If you said snap, you're correct. Nice. And, actually this was our 8th literary device. And here's an image. I'm sure you've recognized this from comic books. Comic books use a lot of onomatopoeia, right? So we have boom, we have splat, zap, wham, oops. Those are all examples of onomatopoeia. This concludes our introduction to figurative language. We've been figuring it out, and on your next class meeting, you may use your notes on our figurative language quiz. Thank you for joining me. Bye-bye.